understand delaying a video 2 weeks may seem kind of ridiculous, but I didn't want to have to deal with the legal ramifications with some of the disclaimer stuff they had at the screening I went to. The last thing I really need is a lawsuit or to have videos taken down off my channel because of some varying copyright stuff. It's just, yeah, I'm already going to have to deal with that with Monster Clash this year, so yeah, let's not waste any time and just start this episode of Romney's Reviews. This is a film I had mixed feelings about going in. I mean, on the one hand, it's absolutely gorgeous, but on the other hand, I just kept thinking that there's no possible way that this film could end well. It's essentially open water without the sharks and set in the vacuum of space. Coming out of the film, however, I was pleasantly surprised by how well the film turned out, and I was just blown away by the amazing visuals in this film. I mean, it just looks absolutely stunning. And keep in mind, it's not just a bunch of artistic silent shots either. I mean, not only is the cinematography and visual effects work in this film absolutely stunning, but it actually has visuals that work in service to the story. Something that a lot of filmmakers, both artistic and mainstream, tend to screw up on. Speaking of the story, it's actually pretty solid. I mean, the pacing of it, while it's a tad slower than most films you're probably used to, it still has a nice solid pace that just keeps you engaged and keeps you hooked throughout the film. If I were to have a complaint about the film, it's that the science may have seemed a bit sketchy in a few places. However, it's not so much with any of the major stuff that happens in the film, but more the minor details, such as how tears would behave in space. So it's really a really minor nitpick that not a lot of people would think about, because not many people will have watched the Chris Hadfield videos explaining how certain things behave in space, so yeah, I'm willing to dismiss it as a minor detail. If there are any major science goof-ups in the film, I'm not really in a qualified position to really comment on it because, well, I'm an arts major. Science is not my major or emphasis of interest. I'm just saying. Overall, I enjoyed this film as it exceeded my expectations in terms of visuals and stories. I kind of went in expecting an artistic film that was like long, drawn out, and led to a predictable ending, but instead we got a film that was really intense, at times artistic, but wasn't full of itself in its presentation. This is one of the few films that I recommend viewing in theaters, because viewing the large-scale visual effects and cinematography on anything smaller than a theater screen would be doing a huge disservice to the amount of work that went into it. This is also one of the films that I highly recommend viewing in 3D, because this is the kind of spectacle that 3D films are supposed to be. This is the kind of thing that 3D was made for. On a final note, major kudos to Cuaron for actually having things silent in space. Because one thing that a lot of people tend to forget is that there's no air in space, and so therefore there would be no sound in space because there's no air for which the sound would travel through. And so really, having this stuff silent in space also just made things more terrifying because, well, if an explosion went off behind you and you didn't see any debris flying past your helmet, you wouldn't know because there's no sound in space. So yeah, major kudos for Cuaron to actually have that detail as part of the film. All of that said, I give Gravity a 5 out of 5. So that's it for this episode of Romney's Reviews. Since I'm shooting this in the past, I can't really tell you what film is going to be next in the reviewing block. So you'll just have to take a look at the end screen to see what video is hovering right there. So yeah, I'll see you next time.